Hello YouTube! In this video I'll be showing off some farm decks. I'm going to start by going off the farm decks for Taya Gardener and Yami Yugi. And I'm gonna work through farm decks for all the characters, but I want to start at Yami Yugi. And the farm deck for Yami Yugi can also be used versus Taya. They're very similar, they don't need to change much between the two of them. So I'm going to do one farm versus Taya and one farm versus Yugi just to show that it works for both. And it's a Cerberus farm deck for those two characters. It's very easy to make, extremely easy. One Cerberus, get it at the card trader, and 19 other spells. Doesn't really matter what they are. Preference being attack boosting spells. Things like the Ruryoku, which I've picked up. Concentrating Current, which was from Warriors United. And Horns of the Unicorn. Equip spells, attack boosting spells, things like that. And just get high on attack. It's very easy to get into 10k if you're wanting these attack boosting things. Pretty much just these three sort of make it. The only other thing you'll want is something like an Econ or Stop Defense to get one of his monsters from defense position to attack position. Or her monsters, I should say. That's all you'll pretty much need. And if you have it, you want to be running some card draw. Things like Shard of Greed is really good to try and keep pace with Taya. One problem that you might run into is if you don't have card draw, Taya is going to deck out before you do, which is going to give you a lower score. But we can still get over 10k and we're not too fussed about that. But if you have the card draw, definitely put it in. Just take out some of the burn that I have in there just because. And we'll get stuck into it. So I'm going to be showing off the deck again. Two farm decks, one versus Taya and one versus Yami Yugi. What I also wanted to cover was the draw sense low level, which is what I'm using in this deck. Obviously with Yami Yugi you use Sorcery Conduit. That's a good way of getting out or drawing into your Cerberus. But for those characters who don't have Sorcery Conduit, draw sense low level is just as good if it's the only 4 lower monster you have in your deck. And the lower level is a bit more diverse in terms of the characters you can use it with. So that's a solid turn for them. And he has the Solemn Wishes. And the cards from the sky is what is the main reason why they're going to deck out before you. It's going to set this Econ. Just in case they do have a monster they can get over. Sometimes they have the Dark Magician Girl, I think. So that contribute. But we don't really use Econ. Speaking of. So I'm glad I said it. I don't think so. And that'll pretty much lock us in for the rest of the duel. I don't think you can get over that. In some matchups you don't want to play Iron Axe because, well, in the Yami Yugi matchup you'll see I won't play Iron Axe because they don't have the mill. But what they do have is D-Spell. So if you're doing what you should be doing in a farm, which is waiting till you get really low on your deck, they can use D-Spell right at the last moment to make you lose by deck out. Because you're waiting right till the very end. So you don't want to play that until the last turn in the versus Yami Yugi for sure. So I'm going to wait till I get some more cards in my hand before I use Magical Mallet. And maybe we find a remove trap. But yeah. Farm decks, just basically a lot of sitting around, to be honest. Drawing your deck. And passing. But this is, the Cerberus method is just one of the ways that you can achieve 10k damage. Obviously when we go on to other characters, the Cerberus method doesn't work. Because they just have things that can remove the Cerberus pretty easily. So we'll be having a look at some other methods when we move on to different characters. And just some variations on the Cerberus deck. Sometimes it's just a little bit different. I'll keep one, I don't really need these. We don't find a remove trap, unfortunately. We don't need to do anything right now. So, with your stop defenses, you want to be a little bit careful that you don't flip up a Skull Angle because that's going to draw them more and thin their deck more and give you less opportunity to play more spells. So what I like to do now, I know I have an econ, I have a guaranteed way of flipping up into attack. I want to use these stop defenses on the card that I know is safe to use it on. The life point gain, is it potentially a problem? But I think even if you don't actually finish them off with your 10k damage, they're still going to win, but you're still going to win by deck out. So I think in terms of the score, you dealing your 10k damage and then winning is the same as going in for lethal damage with the 10k in terms of score. I don't think it's too much of a difference. We are obviously keeping him down with the Hinotamas a little bit. And now we have a remove trap, so that's really going to help us. We don't really have to worry about that anymore. Because with the way we're doing it, with 2 concentrating currents in hand and Ruryoku, I think we can go as high as like 16k with this method. 3 more cards. It's not terrible. We get rid of the cards from the sky. That's good. And yeah, if it's not a Solemn Wishes, it's going to be a spell. Got 2 more cards. Almost there. I'll just use his stop defense. I don't have to worry about him drawing. Because if he draws with a Skellingle with no cards in his deck, that'll be a loss. So anything else I want to do? I think we're good. So unfortunately we don't get to 0 cards, which affects our score a little bit, but not too much. And then we just start popping off. What do we want to use first? We'll chuck you into attack. Let's see, just without any of our final 3 cards, we're already over 10k. Not damage wise, but attack on a Cerberus. And this just is a bit extra, but it definitely gets us there. You see, the concentrating currents wouldn't have been necessary. We're already over 10k on our Cerberus, and if we just used 1 Ruryoku, that still would have given us the damage we needed. Ignoring the campaign bonus, that doesn't really count. You don't quite get to 8, although if you were to run more glossy cards and prismatic cards, that's a way of boosting it. Yeah. And being cards on the brink is another one that we didn't get, but that would have perhaps got you to 7. Again, ignoring the campaign bonus, because that's not always going to be the case. You can get 7k pretty easily, I think. Now we'll move on and just show it versus... One thing that didn't happen there, but can sometimes happen. Did it happen there? I'm not too sure. Even when you go first, and then the Taya goes second, they'll sometimes summon a monster and like put an equip on it and then not attack with it. Sometimes they summon their monster and not attack, so you can't activate your Jaw Sense. And then they'll summon another monster and like equip again, and then they have lethal damage on the board. And so you'll need something like an econ. You'll need your econ set to stop one of your attacks from going through. It doesn't happen that often. I'm not sure why it happens, but it does happen sometimes. Whereas the Yami Yugi, I'm pretty sure they always attack with their monster. So you don't really need to worry about that. So unfortunately, I was just like, wait, why didn't I draw? The condition for the Jaw Sense is actually 1800. We only took 15, but thankfully we drew an econ. That is actually being changed soon. They're revising some of the skills. to be a bit more usable, and I think Draw Sense is only going to 1000 damage, and then you get to activate it. It's much more usable. So farming will be even easier. Well, it's not going to be more or less difficult, it's just a bonus. And just cast spells in your hand that are just usable at any time. Save these, obviously. Save these Concentrating Currents and Ryuyoku for the end. And this is where we just chill. Again, that's just sort of, it's the same setup, but just want to show you, like, level 40 Yami Yugi, it's going to work right till the end. Because the Yami Yugi and Taya, they don't really have too many problem cards. The only really problem card is with Taya, just having like the double Solemn Wishes really early, and you not being able to have the damage. But even then, it's not that big of a deal. I think Yami Yugi is like one of the easiest farms to do. I'll actually keep that, because I want to use my mallets as well. And mallets is better with a fuller hand. Get rid of some of the spells I can't really use. Again, what I said during the Taya farm, we don't really want to play our axes until like the very last turn. We keep drawing that remove trap. Now we don't have any mallets, the hand size doesn't matter, we'll just keep playing the cards as they come into our hand. So on the final turn, you've both decked out, you've got cards on the brink bonus. You just want to play the rest of your spells that you have access to. You can't play your move traps in this, but it doesn't really matter. You have an Iron Axe. Want to put a monster in attack mode. Use our currents. And easily getting well over 10k. And there we go. Maybe we get something decent. Although I already have all the cards from Yami Yugi, so it won't really matter what I get. Let's see if we can get something decent. Because I don't think I got anything good from Taya. That is a Diffusion. That's a super rare. And a token. Not bad, not bad. So yeah, that's the deck for those two characters. Next, I'll probably be doing... Kaiba is a very tricky one. I'll probably do Joey. And then I'll go back to Kaiba, because Kaiba's got a more complicated one. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.